I mean, we kind of go back a ways, Deb and me. Definitely, I was the one who played that first video the first time on MTV. And a lot of you saw it for the first time on MTV. I'm excited to actually sit down and talk with this woman. She's done quite a bit. She is resilient. She is talented. I think that she has led the way, really, for a lot of those who came after. There is no Taylor Swift without Debbie Gibson. So we're doing something a little bit different. If there are any of you who've seen any of the interviews that I've done so far, I did a show on Sirius XM for a while called My Life, the Soundtrack. And the idea is that I just asked Debbie to pick 3 songs. Not just, oh, wow, yeah, I love that song. It was a big hit. But songs that were connected to her life, that there is some sort of story, some sort of real connection to a moment. And she's picked 3 great songs, and I don't know why yet.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I don't know about you guys, but we were told that the phones would auto-update, and then they didn't. So this was me like a half hour ago. Oh, my God, oh, my God.
I was going to say, can we say 20 minutes? And she
20
looks like
minutes,
this.
I got ready,
Boom.
folks. Yes. Effortless glam is my new mode, my new way of life, if I can pull it off. The universe wanted me to get that extra hour of sleep, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, before we actually get into this, one thing that you did on your shows that worked so incredibly well was for you to be able to do the songs and even dress the way that you dressed back in the day.
So much fun.
And I mean, other artists have done similar things, but you're kind of looking on the screen and then you're looking at them on stage and go, whoa. But with you look the same. It's incredible. It really is.
Thank you. I just don't feel that much different. You know, I was always like I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I always was an old soul and a young spirit. I was in no rush to grow up in some ways, and in some ways, in those same ways, I'm still not. And, you know, that sliding scale with the number on it always made 0 sense to me. You know, hence the song Electric Youth, which at the time was an anthem for being empowered as a young person. But as I grew older, I realized really what I was saying is there's no such thing as age. There should be no isms, especially ageism. And I'm not going to tell y'all, but he just told me how old he is, and it blew my mind. It's like, we're all staying eternally electric and youthful around here, in my opinion, because you guys, listen, for you guys to come out and be this celebratory, you're living your lives, and that's what the song really is about. It's about being vital and vibrant at any age. So if I'm going to do that, I got to walk my walk, you know what I mean?
So, and the other thing about the videos, I'll just say, is that there's artists who are sort of, quote, legacy artists these days who, they kick off their show with like a 20-minute film that relates the highlights of their career, which is fine. But the way that you did it was so much better. We all kind of lived through each of those moments in your career as you performed the songs. And we saw, oh, I remember that when I was in my living room sitting with my brother when I saw that. Yeah.
Thank you. And we thank you for noticing, because we put a lot of effort, me and my team. You know, I'm independent, and the joke is, like, every time I'm ready to turn in at night, my phone goes ding, 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 and there's 3 mixes to approve, or arrangements, or visuals, and I'm hands-on with all of that. And a guy named Nick Spanos, he's now like full-time photographer, video director, and he puts together all those montages. And we're very particular on the presentation of it, so thank you for noticing.
Did you rehearse them to a click track or something? Because you were almost lip-syncing with every one.
Yeah, no, we created the click track, and the obvious thing missing in the show was synths, because on tour we had 2 live keyboard players, which at the time was unheard of. You know, so you had a guy going in Electric Youth. Like, independent, we can't hire a guy to go right now. So So the synths are the one programmed element in the show. It's the synths and a click. And yes, we cut all the video to the click so that it was exact. Yeah.
It was so great. So great.
So thank you all for noticing and enjoying that element of it. It was trippy. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw me look back at the screen a few times, especially when I was singing with Step Stewart. And it was just so wild because, you know, we haven't done that literally in 35 years. And I did that tour on and off. I guess it was like a 9-month world tour, you know. So, and we were talking, where's Buddy? Buddy's here. Where's Buddy?
Buddy.
You know, Buddy was there the first time around, and we were saying how it was like, when we were learning it, I flew the guys out to Malibu. I have this RV, and you guys see me on Instagram. I keep the RV in Malibu in the RV park. And I flew the guys out, and we started working on it like 3-4, like a month ago. I mean, it was a long time ago because we were like, holy crap, it's a lot of choreography. And then Eddie was kind of like, I didn't grow up with this style because Barry Lather, you know, he did Pleasure Principle and like it was a certain style of the time. And our low backs did not want to do it either. Like, I look like I'm fit and I'm moving, but we custom design moves that feel good to my body because, as you mentioned, I was very sick on the last cruise and I deal with like chronic things. So I've just learned how to like custom tailor my life to what feels good. But these moves were like that young, like we're jumping, we're thrashing, we're bending. We all would walk out of the rehearsal going like, this is so weird. We're never in low back pain. But yeah, but Buddy was like, it's so weird how it's like we're learning it from scratch, but then to quote my own album, The Body Remembers, it's also wired in, you know, from doing it so many times, right? And doesn't Buddy look amazing, you guys, on stage? Woo. Still hands
That was the other thing, by the way, to see them in the video.
I know.
Also.
With hair.
Yes.
And flirting with girls. Like, what?
Amazing.
Amazing is right. I don't know who was there on night one. I was like, what's with the girlfriend? I heard somebody say that to Ricky Martin at the beginning of his career when he had the trophy girlfriend. I'll never forget, I read a post and somebody said, what's with the girlfriend? Great line. It's a great line. We digress. By we, I mean I. Okay, Mark, take it.
So, let's start with this was the preamble.
Yes.
Now we're into the main body of the interview.
Okay, we're going to get
So let's start. You said that you wanted to start with your first choice. We don't even have to introduce it. I just wanted to play a little bit just so everyone has the song in their head and they kind of know what she's talking about. Although we all know her first choice, which is Billy Joel and My Life. So we can play that. There you go.
Billy Joel fans in the house?
So I guess no surprise that you go with another Long Islander. You guys, it's like a cult. My wife is from Long Island. She's from Baldwin. You're from Merrick.
Yes.
Baldwin in the house. Taylor Dane.
Baldwin, yes. I think that, like, Billy still to this day speaks to this Long Island attitude. You know, like, there's like a sarcasm and there's a wit. There's this little edge that Long Islanders have that I don't think anybody else has, you know.
It's a certain thing.
It's a certain thing, and it's the way Springsteen speaks to New Jersey, and so. But for me, if you've been a long time follower of mine, you know that Billy, you know, 52nd Street was the first album I ever bought. So when I hear this song, I flash back to a photo that I have in my actual, like, you know, printed Kodak photo collection, where I'm in a dress. I'm just back from church and I have braids in my hair, but I'm sitting with my knees splayed out on either side in front of the record player in the room that had the record player and the brown shag rug. And my sisters could never get near the record player and I had the control of the record player. And of all, you know, I think that the song itself spoke to and speaks to my independent spirit. And it was one of the first I learned on the piano. It's like simple enough. If you guys saw the show and you see me play Should Have Been the One, that's not a complicated song to play for me on the piano. It's not like it requires some jazz repertoire or anything like that. But I like to pound the keys. And this song was like one of those first songs that I learned, and it just, this and that whole album, it was my intro to Billy. It was my intro to the fact that you could write your own songs top to bottom, you know, because there's so many songs, and I love collaborating now, but I think that's because
when you were listening to that, you hadn't written a song yet?
I had written like, you know, Make Sure You Know Your Classroom, and there were literally like maybe 3 songs I had written as a very, very little child. But like, I just remember knowing somehow that like, wow, this is like all Billy. This is his pure expression, and I thought that was so cool. And so that just so heavily influenced me and the trajectory of my whole life.
Well, we all know that was one of the big things about Debbie Gibson bursting onto the scene the way that you did, that you wrote, performed, produced the first female to have a #1 song written, performed, and produced.
Thank you.
On her own.
And you know, we're going to be celebrating. We're going to have to figure out, I'm going to have to like find y'all on some deck somewhere, because tomorrow's the 35th anniversary of Lost in Your Eyes.
Oh, man, it's the actual anniversary.
The actual anniversary of Lost in Your Eyes coming out, and that was the second time I kind of became my own runner-up in that record, which I only found out not too long ago because I wrote and produced. Like, to me, ballads produce themselves. And when I saw the Wham documentary and I saw that George Michael at first was doing Careless Whisper, was it with Walter A, right? And he was like kind of like, why is he trying to reinvent the wheel with this song when it's just supposed to sound like... So I think if you write a ballad, you hear it in your head. And the only thing about producing is you're getting what's in your head out to come out of the speakers. And you have to know how to translate that to musicians and how you play it and how it's mixed. But to me, it's simple, and it's about not getting in your own way and not overcomplicating it. I think that's often what makes a great production.
But for someone your age at that time to have such a clear vision of what you hear in your head, one, how to articulate it, and to get to someone else a guy to listen to it and listen to you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, you can be, you know, a 25-year-old, 30-year-old woman, and guys don't want to listen to you in the music business.
No,
so you're at that young age. What was that hurdle?
Well, it's going to lead us to the next song, funny enough. But like, you know, I've spoken a lot about my late great mom, Diane, especially since she passed 2 years ago. Yes, Diane. Step burst into tears after the show, and he said Diane would be so proud. And I know she's been, I am very spiritual, so I know she is presiding over this whole chapter for me. And I think she went where she needed to go to do that, because there's some extra mojo I've had. She's like, I'm getting the full body chill, so she is definitely here. But yeah, you know, she was my champion, and she went to an uncle in New Jersey, in Vineland, New Jersey, for a $10,000 loan to help set me up with my first little recording studio in the garage, because she somehow knew it was in my head. And
did you know?
You know, I did, because I was doing voiceovers. So I'd be in studios, or I'd be making little demos in other people's studios. And I would say to my mom and my dad, if I knew what those buttons did, and if I knew what those faders did, I could make it sound like I wanted it to sound. Like if I was, you know, I mean, I was demoing like, you know, clang, clang, clang went the trolley, and I sing the body electric, like theme songs and stuff. But it never quite sounded like, so I did know that I had something in my head that I wanted to hear specifically. And so she knew it, and the beauty of having your own studio, and of course now everybody has a way to make music, which I think is great. Like I have a nephew who had learning challenges, and he remixed my last single. And he's self-taught. Tristan, he goes by Tristan K. And so it's now young people have access to that in a way that we didn't, unless your mom got in a car, drove 3 hours, and asked an uncle for a $10,000 loan, which at the time was like, you know, asking for a $75,000 loan. It was a lot, you know, it's still a lot of money. I appreciate what $10,000 is, but back then it was like extraordinary.
Like, yeah, we love Debbie, but really?
No, he got it. You know, that was what was so cool. Uncle Joe, shout out to Uncle Joe. My mom was convincing, but my mom wasn't like, oh, I believe in her. My mom was like, oh, I know this is happening, and you can either get on board or not. Like, that's how she always did it. She always did it that way, but she did know. You know why she knew? She knew because of all of you. She always said, I know if we can get this music to the people and past the gatekeepers, they're gonna love it, because she loved it. You know, she loved the music. And we didn't know what was going to happen, and the ignorance was bliss, for sure, because when you're stepping into, like, the club scene, and then, like you were saying, these male executive-filled rooms at Atlantic Records, there were like 3 females. They were badasses, and I'm going to be calling them because I'm in the process of writing my book. And I want their recollection of what was going, because I have my recollection. And it was tough. My mom would walk out of those rooms and physically get sick, because it was so bold of her to say, my daughter wants to produce. And the only proof I have is this cassette that came out of the garage. But if you listen to it, you will hear, you know, and I will be posting throughout the year as we celebrate this, the original demos that I could find from some of this music. You can hear that it just is a less refined version what eventually ended up on the album. But no, they all wanted a 40-something-year-old male to write, co-write, rework my songs. You know,
How about Fred Czar?
Fred Czar was Fred was the best collaborator.
And there were several people back in the day that were sort of in similar positions, meaning guys who sort of put bands together, put artists together, wrote, produced, and put the published.
Right. Well, Fred Czar was respectful of my creative vision. He was supportive. He to me is what Dan Nigro is to Olivia Rodrigo. And I think Olivia is brilliant, and I think the combo of her and Dan is perfection, because everything sounds and feels like it's coming from her. You know, it doesn't feel like there is a slightly older male involved. And in that way, we shouldn't, there shouldn't be prejudiced against the older male producers if they have that best interest at heart, because a little girl speaking to a young audience is a very pure and important thing to protect. So Fred had that, like, how can I help serve you? And he was kind of like, how can I help groom you so you don't need me eventually, which is always the best kind of teacher and mentor.
As opposed to, let me groom you so that I could be making money off you for the next 30 years.
No, I mean, he came to see me last year at 54 Below for the Out of the Blue anniversary show. And and it was so great. He's nothing but love and support, and always has been. But he was really so creative. You know, he was the uncredited writer-producer of the Papa Don't Preach intro, which I always think is a fun fact. Because back then, it wasn't considered writing to come up with an iconic intro. And now, if you go, yeah, I put it in my Hallmark movie in Summer of Dreams, because if somebody walks by with coffee and goes, yeah, and goes, oh, I'm going to put that riff on the record. That girl's a writer now who brought the coffee in, right? That's how it works. Sometimes there's like 8 writers on a record, you know. But Fred contributed so much and was a little bit of an unsung hero in a way. But he, like Electric Youth, the sound of Electric Youth was really him. Yeah.
Just to go back to Billy and to my life and how that relates to your mom and who you are. I know we're going to get to the next one, which will be closer. But the woman that she was, and again, it's the same thing that I said about you in that business, certainly goes for her. And what is it in her that you carry?
Ooh, it's a great question. I like to say, and I think this is maybe true of all of us and all of our parents, I learned a lot of things I wanted to be, things innately I am and qualities I possess, and some things I didn't want to be or ways I didn't want to do things. And I think that that's always a cool thing when you can see the flaws too and say, okay, I'm going to take that and that, not that. But I think I possess definitely the tenacity and the stick-to-itness and the softness. My mom was incredibly vulnerable. She was a pussycat. I mean, she really was. And I have her laugh. Like, she loved a good, hearty belly laugh, which I love. And at times, I think you guys will agree, you'll hear me laugh, and we all go, it's my mom, it's Diane, yeah. But she was a badass, you know, and she didn't see boundaries. She also could have been, you know, she was always, I hate to use the word accepting for anybody who's different than the norm, but in the late 80s, you know, as people on my team were making their way into coming out and all kinds of things. My mom was often the first person people went to. She was so open, you know, she was so celebratory of everybody's authenticity, and that is something I absolutely inherited from her.
You have lived that. I know that you've done some special work for the LGBTQ plus community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're all who we are. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me that it's an issue. It just doesn't make sense.
Well,
I'm like, people. I see people. I see spirits. You know, that's what I see always. And she did too. Yes.
I got to say too, it's really, really clear in you. It's obvious in the things that you have done. And for me, as I observe that, especially now, in this time, in the last, let's say 10 years, just for fun, we are divided. We are so, it's about the other, and you are about us, not us and them.
Oh, absolutely. You know, someone said to me recently, it was a lovely compliment. They said, you know, there are some people that build walls, and they said that I build bridges. And I just think we should all be building bridges for sure. You know, find a commonality. Be willing to have a conversation. Someone has a strong belief, be willing to hear it. You know, listen, I have older family members I'm never going to convince that marriage is not supposed to be between a man and a woman. They were raised a certain way, or they were raised in a, you know, by priests and whatever the things are, right? And there's a brainwashing, and there's a triggering, and there's deeply embedded things. And for some people, it's simply choice. And so even if there are people in this room that are like, that's not my preference, or that's totally cool. Just don't spew hate, you know, that's all. Just don't make anybody feel, I think, yes, everyone's entitled to their beliefs, but I don't think anybody should purposely try to be unkind or make anybody's life more difficult than it already is, because life is already difficult for everybody, you know? So again, to me it's quite simple. But I'm not running for president. That's where I draw the line. I hate politics. I stay far away from them.
Just quick question.
Music
Would
is
you
my
accept
religion.
vice president? Would you vice president? Just perhaps as a nomination for
just ambassador of kindness and music. Yes. We'll create some new department. No, I'll do it through music. That's where my place is. You know, you don't ever see me standing on that soapbox, because I just think that, walking my own walk and singing my own sing is how I do it and how I'll always do it.
In addition, by the way, this is sort of a side note to this, but the fact that you have the same people working with you all of these years, I didn't realize that you went to high school with...
Yeah.
I mean, and I hired the guy.
Yeah, so we went to high school together. Well, it was slightly different. So Buddy went on an audition like the week after that talent show incident. No, I'm kidding. No, let me tell you something. Anybody who's backflipping, I'm like, by the way, Buddy and Linda, his dance partner Linda, came in second place at the talent show. The football team, remember when the Super Bowl Shuffle was out? They did their version of that, the Calhoun Colts Shuffle. And I think everybody was like, okay, the fact that these guys got together, wrote this rap, learned this, like, we're giving them first place. So they got first place, Buddy and Linda got second. There was no third, and I came to find out if there was a third, it would have been me. Thank you. But I was, you know, I'm not a sore loser. And you know what's so funny? That was like the beginning, one of the beginnings of my training ground for things going wrong. Because you remember my microphone went out. My mic went out, and I went, okay, and I just got, just stood on the edge of the stage and belted it as loud as I could. And so it was like one of those moments where I remember, like, oh, something happens, like last night, like if something happens every show. If it's
what
live,
happened last night?
something happened. Oh, I forgot to put Lost in Your Eyes where it belonged, and suddenly everybody was up there, and it was like, great, we're gonna have story hour. Just sit on the floor.
You walked off the stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? No, something's wrong
no,
here.
I heard a playoff and went, thank you, good night. Yeah, I just, but I love that because I'm super in the moment, and I love that about live, and it means that everybody gets a totally different show every night, which is how it should be.
You did a fast shuffle at the end there too, didn't you? To make up for because you walked off and you had to move songs.
Yeah. Joey started playing the other thing,
right.
And yeah, but anyway,
we all loved it anyway, right? It was like, without a glitch, it was perfect.
I love humanness because it's, one of my big things growing up, and again, I'm sure, I feel like it was a sign of the times too, maybe in the 80s, that word perfectionism and type A, and I've just learned to drop that and have more fun and trust that all the years of my training is going to turn up, and that nobody in the audience bought a ticket to judge you. Everybody came to have a great time, and if you can really wrap your head around that, because I'm somebody who is kind of a nervous, anxious person by nature, so I do have to self-talk all day long. And so on show days, sometimes I remind myself the lead up to it is far more unnatural than the actual doing of it. And the minute I get out there, I'm like, oh, right, this is just a big room full of people celebrating music, and I happen to be up here, but it's still, we're all in this same room. But to go back to, so Buddy went on an audition and saw my headshot on the wall, because it was an agent, and he goes, oh, I go to school with her, and the agent said, she's hiring backup dancers right now, and gave Buddy our number, right, and he called and left a message on the answering machine. And I think it was the first and last time you ever called me Debbie, right? He was like, yes, I think Debbie Gibson lives here. And he auditioned in the kitchen, just a couple of high kicks and a backflip, and you're hired.
It's been a big kitchen.
It was, by the way, it was a tiny kitchen. I feel like a lot of people audition in, backup singers audition in the living room. I mean, we were very grassroots. And then Eddie and I met, and so Buddy did the very first club date, which was Joey's place in Clifton, New Jersey, where he and the other dancer put me through a stucco ceiling because the ceiling was too low. We had this big lift planned, and we didn't realize how low the ceiling was, and Buddy was like, I'm getting fired, I'm so fired. But anyway, and then Eddie and I met doing a production of Chicago. People think that if you have a pop career, and even for me who's had a Broadway career, that you get handed Broadway roles. I spent 3 months with the dance captain of Chicago to do the Broadway production, and it was before they were putting celebrities in, right? And they put me through 3 months of training and a 2-day, 2-part audition, and then didn't give me the role. And then I know. I don't know. But the feedback, because you get feedback from auditions, was because I was auditioning for Velma, which I eventually played, and I was doing Beauty and the Beast that time, and this is where I think perception is so everything to some people. So, I'm skipping around in my apron. There goes a baker with his train like always. And they're like, we don't believe Debbie Gibson could have ever murdered anyone. But it was are you judging the Debbie Gibson on the billboard in Times Square in the apron, or the one you saw do the audition? Because the one who did the audition knocked a chair over and did the work and had the grit. I know I did. So I was on the lookout because I wanted to play Velma anywhere. And this is why I love regional theater. I love touring theater, because you're doing your craft. It doesn't matter where it is. And we're bringing it to people who can't get to New York. So I did it at North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts, Boston adjacent. Beverly, Massachusetts in the house. And it didn't matter. I loved doing the role, and the gift of doing that. Maybe had I gotten Broadway, I wouldn't have done that. I met Eddie doing that production 24 years ago. And he was the newbie, non-union, 19-year-old kid in the ensemble. And I inherited this from my mom too. I can spot talent. I can spot talent. I said, that kid has something so special. And after the production, I didn't even know if he could choreograph. I said, would you choreograph a number for me on kind of a trial? Because I just want to see what you could do. And that's us 24 years ago and still doing what we do. And the two of these guys meeting, how many of you follow the Book and Baldies on social media? If you don't, the Book and Baldies. So they were destined to meet and be a duo. So I'm a believer in fate, and that's why I never get too disappointed when something doesn't come my way that I really want. I go, okay, there must be some bigger plan here, and it usually reveals itself. And that Eddie was the bigger plan for sure.
Right. Mwah. 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 So, you chose one of your own songs,
yes.
Part of the three, which is, I try and steer artists away from that, but at the same time, as a writer, what I'm looking for with a show like this is to something that has deep meaning to you, that is connected.
Yes, when I was really thinking, and I got my third song in the 11th hour because I wanted to be thoughtful about this because I loved this whole concept. And I didn't choose my own song out of ego. I chose it for that reason. I was like, this connects so many dots for me, this song. Do you want to just play a little bit of it?
Let's play a little bit of...
You might know it.
You may know it. Let's play that one. I was Davy Gibson. We Could Be Together. That's her second choice.
Yes.
Why did you select that one?
So this song, I remember when I wrote it, and this melody is like every reason why I wanted to be a songwriter, for starters. It's a sing-along, it's a communal song. I did a campfire mix because in the video we had guitars and all.
Should I have played that one? I was thinking about doing
that's okay.
I wasn't sure.
No, this works. And look, to speak to the power of the meaning of this song to my community, show everybody your tattoo, Jen. It says jump. And speak to the meaning for you of this song.
So for me, it's last couple years with you, I got this because it's don't hesitate. Like, buy the damn concert tickets, get on the plane, go on the cruise, do whatever, and be with your community and be with the person that brings you the most joy and seek out joy. That's for me.
And that's why I picked it, because it really, when I sing you only live once, I always just belt that to the high heavens because it's so true and it's how I live my life. And I adopted a saying the past year that is, don't delay joy. I said it last night, and it's not just about if you're living or you're dying, but it's about how you're living while you're living. But we don't know how much. I have a line in a newer song that hasn't been released yet that's not scared of time, but time is passing. It is, no matter what we do. And so choose how you want to live your life. And like you said, I look at, these are my diamond deadheads who are my diehard community of supporters, and they all found each other through music and through my music, which is I always say that's such a bigger picture than it being about me, because I'll stalk them on social media unashamedly, and they're all living their lives out there together and with each other apart from me. But I was this conduit unknowingly, just by virtue of, I don't take credit because I'm just doing what I do, but I happened to be the conduit for everyone finding each other. And so this song is really about togetherness. And the other thing that's so profound for me is my mom, she had a brain event. It's a longer story that I'm not going to get into, and it was a 4-year decline that she had. And I was doing a concert in Allen, Texas. It was with Tiffany, I think, right? With Tiffany. Was Lisa on that one? And Lisa, who's they're both incredible artists. Amazing. And my mom, she would say I was the pain in the ass usually, and I'll say on this one, she was a pain in the ass. She was, I'm coming, I'm not coming, oh, I can't get the flight, Finally, I was like, have your bags packed in now, or I got you your damn ticket, you're getting on the plane, you're coming to this concert. For some reason, I don't know if it was a premonition, but I was like, she needs to be at this concert That was the last concert of mine she was at the mixtape tour, but that wasn't my concert. That was me on stage for 20 minutes. This was the last concert, and I brought her up on stage for We Could Be Together. And when I did her tribute when she passed, that is the clip I posted. I don't know if she'd really ever even been up there with me in that way. And I sent her to the meet and greet with the fans, and she got to hug everybody, and everybody got to hug her, and everybody got a picture with her that night. But her being on stage for We Could Be Together, and her shawl, I'm like, what are you wearing a shawl for? She was so cute. She just had her style, but she was up there, and she looked like a little girl. She was bopping like this, but she was also looking at me like, yeah, I helped do this. Like, it was such a powerful moment. And so this song has so much meaning to me, and I always have, since the beginning of time, brought fans on stage to join me for it in concert.
But it's has the meaning has, I won't say changed, but it is sort of broad
expanded,
since
for
you've
sure.
written it.
It's deepened, yeah.
Which is, I think, some of the greatest, that's what a song should do.
Yes.
Is to somehow grow with you. I had a conversation with a guy named Lowell George from Little Feat many years ago before he died, and I love him as a songwriter, and he said that exact thing to me, that my songs are like little children.
Yes.
And I nurture them, and I watch them, and I help them grow.
Totally, and it's like
years.
a pencil sketch, and you're coloring it in with your new experiences, Foolish Beat. Last night I was having a personal moment with it at the end, just holding the last moment. And it was a grown-up moment. It was a present moment. And when I wrote it back then, I didn't have that experience. So, and then people, again, you all, the people who are embracing the songs, help shape the meaning as it goes too. And so it really is. And I always say, I never had human children. My songs are my children. So when somebody compliments a song, it is like an extension of me. It's not me, but it's an extension of me. And I always kind of feel I'm happy for that song, as if it's its own living thing. But it is, it's alive out in the world, and people, I always think how many collective memories are in this room to Lost in Your Eyes, or people who have gotten engaged to it and married to it. And I just sent somebody a video for their 35th, they were celebrating the exact anniversary that the song's celebrating. And so yes, music is so meaningful, and sometimes the simplest songs, because I remember those very cynical critics way back when. MTV was always not like that, which I loved. Hi, Julie. Downtown Julie Brown.
DTJB.
But everybody, because I lived in a world where, again, there was not an Olivia Rodrigo or a Taylor Swift or a Billie Eilish. And I was going, no, we're not our own genre of music, teen music. We're music. I had to continually try to drive that point home and silence the cynics. And it's okay, if the song is too simple for you, don't listen to it, but it's reaching who it's meant to be reaching. But again, those simplest songs can have such a big impact, and even if the impact is that it is pure joy. I joke that every time I post anything to do with Shake Your Love, the numbers are off the charts, because people just want a dose of happy. That's a dose of happy. But what's a dose of happy worth? Every song is important in its own right. But I do believe, yes, the song grows, you color it in, and all kinds of moments get created in relation to the song, and that happened for me for We Could Be Together.
We're talking about how what an impressive woman your mom was, and how much she not only aided you in your career, but helped to shape the person that you are. A lot of times artists, grow up in a musical household. I didn't get, what was the music that was playing in your house?
Well, a couple of things. My dad was an orphan, and he was a part of a barbershop quartet at the boys' home called, I know this is a wild story, the Peanuts. And they did This sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm not. They did an unbelievable. I'm kidding. They did an unbelievable rendition of a barbershop version of the Ten Commandments. It was like, first I must honor God, second honor His name, third you can't make this stuff up. I had the 45. They did a 45. The local tuck shop gave them all like satin tuxes, and they were on Ed Sullivan and Name That Tune, and I got to be on Name That Tune last year. My dad was on Name That Tune. So he still to this day has this gorgeous crooner's voice, and he's on my holiday record with me doing White Christmas. And so at 79 years young, he's now 81, I got him in the studio. And so I did grow up with this gorgeous tenor voice, serenading us. And he had the voice, but had no rhythm, because in barbershop, you're doing everything a cappella. So I swear my dad could stomp, snap, and sing in 3 different tempos. It was a gift. And my mom always had rhythm. Like, my mom introduced me to line dancing at Denim and Diamonds in New York City, if anyone ever went there, yeah. And so my mom had rhythm. I was like, thank God I got those gifts in the right order, because if I got them the other way around, I would have been, but I would not be here right now, that's for sure. But my mom loved music. She and my Aunt Linda, her only sister, would get home from school every day in Brooklyn in the townhome my grandparents had and turn on Bandstand. And they would Lindy and all that. So when I did the Motown medley last night, like, I grew up with doo-wop and Motown in the house, and then of course eventually 70s, but and my older sisters were more into like Yes and Foreigner. They were more into the like rock to the rock side, Genesis. And I was on Atlantic Records, so I also I think every one of those bands I just named were on Atlantic Records. So we had like a kind of, wide array of music, but there was always music happening in the house. And MTV was always on. Again, I've told this story before too. I'll never forget coming home from school, and MTV was like, the TV was already on, and Wake Me Up Before You Go came on. The video, and that's when I fell in love with Wham, and I was like, I'll never write a catchier song than Wake Me Before You Go. But I tried. But I always appreciated a good catchy hook, and that was, but MTV was always right there for us too.
So you mentioned the medley last night, and what is it, like 13 minutes or something? It's long. It's a major medley.
Yeah.
Incredible dance moves, tight changes, rhythm changes. I mean, how long did it take you to rehearse and learn that? Because you guys were spot on.
Thank you. Wow. Compliments to these guys.
How long did that take? That had to take months.
Well, we jokingly did Motown on the Bluff out at the RV park. We spent a lot of time literally in the grass looking at the ocean a month ago, starting to put that together, because it was like you had to be detectives. Like, I had to try to remember all of those. Like, it's remembering the order of things. The moves are simple, but it's, are we doing this first, or are we doing this first, or are we doing this, so it was just kind of, and it was again reacquainting, because Buddy and I would all of a sudden go, oh yeah, we go into Step in the Name of, like, it would just come back to us, certain parts of it. But yeah, it did take a little, we did the Malibu rehearsals, the New York City rehearsals at different times. So we put a lot of work into all the choreography.
It shows.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun. Listen, it's so much fun, and I said this on stage, it's never wasted on me. It's so much fun to have a reason to get in a rehearsal studio and to put these things together, and to know that, again, that people are excited to see it. Like, I don't take for granted that y'all saved your money to be here, and that you put things on hold. You left children, you left pets, you left jobs, you left elderly parents, to be here. Like, I want to make sure we are giving you something really special to take with you, and we want to make sure, and in this case, I really did want to transport you, and take you back to that era, and that's why you're on this cruise. And I do all my modern music stuff all the time these days, but this was really about, again, just really taking you back to just take all the feels from this amazing musical time.
Incredible. Incredible. Every one of those artists, every one of those songs, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to your final song selection. This is more contemporary.
Yes.
A song that's 3 or 4 years old, or 2 years old, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
By a guy named Ben Rector.
Uh-huh.
So we'll give people, because this one maybe not as quite as well known.
Nope.
Called Extraordinary Magic. Let's give a listen to a little bit of that.
I love this song. I love this song. It gets me really emotional. And I'll tell you how and where I was when I heard it, and then why it hits me so hard. So, you know, in all these years of being in the business, I'd never been to Clive Davis's Grammy party, oddly or not. It's kind of odd because so many people.
That's a yearly mega event on Grammy weekend.
Yeah. And I got to perform for Clive a year ago at a benefit and sit at the table with him for the first time in my career too. And I was kind of like, my life is made because I got to perform for Clive and look at him. Like I was doing Legendary, which is one of my newer songs, and looking at Clive, and he was like giving me love, and I was like, oh my God. But the way I was on it's going to be every story has been long, but this song, so I want to give you the proper lead up. So I was doing going to these 2 Grammy parties, and when you're kind of re-emerging, as I have in the last couple of years, you're in your little bubble and you're on social media, and then you're like, oh, I got to go out with the big boys now, so to speak. Like you got to kind of show up at the things, and you know, and it was great because people like David Foster came up to me and he was like, I follow you on social media and I love what you're doing these days. And it's like, see, people are watching.
Who's David Foster?
People are watching, and I know David for years, and so to get his, like, he gave me like that pat on the back moment, and I was like, that's meaningful because I know he doesn't throw that around. And so, but you go out and you see kind of what's happening in the real world in music and how people are responding to you and you get to wear a cool, cute dress and all the things. So I decided to go to the Music Cares event. Music Cares, amazing organization that helps artists when they helped me when I was going through funding Lyme disease treatment because it was very costly, and so it was unbelievable to have been on the receiving end of their generosity, and then to be showing up when my life is now turned around, and I could, you know, way out of the can't afford all this health treatment to I can afford the gown and go to your event. Like that's a very big thing. So it was so meaningful for me to be there. And then and there'll be a lot about this stuff in the book because people don't know that I've been, like everybody, right? We've all been through these things. And then the next night was Clive's party. So I was getting ready in my RV, which you keep hearing me talk about it, but it's been this like symbolic thing for me of living my life on my terms and freedom. I bought this RV. I use it as my mini tour bus. I even get behind the wheel. It's so much fun. I was forced, where's Kurt? I was forced into learning how to do an oil change. Kurt, in like 117 degree weather. Where is he? Kurt, where are you? I can't see him. Oh, there you There you are.
Straight back, yeah.
He actually owns a tech company, and he's a friend of a friend who like volunteered him to drive my RV once, and then he got stuck with us touring all the tours. But he's like, A, you need to know how to do your own oil change if you're going to have an RV. And B, he goes, I want you to empower all the females out there who will now understand that it's not just a male thing to be able to do an oil change. What I learned about that
do a fucking oil change.
What was that?
No idea how to do an oil change.
Well, great. We're inspiring you too. But it was literally 117 degrees, and what I learned about doing an oil change is like, I'm very claustrophobic, so it was not pleasant, but I did it. But so the RV has become very important to me. And I was getting ready for Clive's party with my glam guy in the RV and getting picked up there in the town car and everything. So it turns out they like closed off the PCH. There was all this traffic. The driver couldn't get to me. So I grabbed my part-time assistant and I'm like, we're getting in the Kia Sportage. I'm in my gown. We're like getting in my Kia Sportage and I'm driving myself to meet the car like near Clive's party. So it could appear that we drove all the way in a chauffeured a chauffeured SUV, but really I drove myself my case porch. So we were in the car, and I will now say before I love a good reconnection with people from the past, and I had this major reconnect in my life, not going to say with who, from my extreme childhood. And it's somebody, it again takes me back to the time of my mom, and it takes me back to the time of like singing, like just for the joy of it, and it costing my parents money to take me into the city to sing at talent shows and things. And so this person, you picked the right verse, by the way, about out of the blue, you appeared in my life, right? And I was very close. Like this is somebody that we'll say could potentially be a love interest. Now we got a little woo, but I don't know. It's yet to unfold, and a lot of that has to do with timing. And timing is a thing when people are going through like certain processes in their lives. And so I was on my way to this event, and this song came on in the traffic and in the like anxiety of, oh my God, it's Clive's party and I don't want to be late. And it just stopped me in my tracks. It's so patient. It's so melodic. The lyrics really, again, hit me in that way that this song could have been a minute old or 20 years old. I believe a song finds you when it's supposed to find you. And also it's what I was talking about, how my mom knew how to recognize magic in people. This person I'm talking about has that. It's magic. It's when you look at somebody walks in a room and it's like everybody wants that person to be in that room. How can I get that person in my room and to be a part of my project? So it just hit me, and at a light, because I'm not a texter and driver, texted the song to that person, and that person was crying as well. It just is a very moving moment on a profound night. And again, just a testament to a song finding you and taking your breath away.
Those are the magic moments in life when it surprises you. Mm-hmm. and I know people have that experience with songs of yours, and I have to imagine that's the joy of it. That's kind of what you go for, right?
Absolutely. And again, I spoke about this last night. There's those of us who grew up with my music, and then there are younger fans like, Care, how old are you? You're 35?
Born in 89.
So tell everybody, like, how did you first discover my music? Because again, I'm talking about how songs can find you, and how did my music find you?
Well, I was born in the Philippines, and my parents were really, really big fans of the 80s, including yours. And so that's why I heard it. We're big in karaoke, so I heard your songs actually through karaoke first. And then I found your music on my own, and my parents getting to see you live with me. You're going back to the Philippines in a month, and I'm going to be back there after 25 years to come see you. So it's really full circle. And how you've connected with all these people. I have made so many more friends in the last couple years than I've made in my own city, internationally and here, and we've all been on my first time on a cruise. You got me here, so that's how much you've meant to me.
Thank you. But again, it's how the music finds people, like Leo, and there's people that just, again, they weren't even. Ariel, who played guitar with me last night, she's such a big music connoisseur and has such a respect. Like, she learned every solo note perfect, and then I'm like, now make it your own. But she has such a respect for
smoking guitars.
She's really incredible. Yeah, she's a really incredible musician and a writer in her own right and all of that. But yeah, about that. Yeah, knowing that my music may be, what I hear a lot from people, and I do hear it a lot from the LGBTQIA plus community, which is like a song found somebody in a moment where they needed a friend, and it's like a song can kind of hold your hand and be by your side in a challenging time, and to think that possibly any of my songs did that for anybody, because I'm just going about my business in my life usually, and then I remember, oh right, I've got these children out in the world doing their work, right? And then it comes back to me, and I go, wow, I'm so great. Like, I literally can't believe I get to live this life, but I can't believe that the music, again, gets to be out there when I don't even know about it, affecting other people's lives. It's incredible.
So, just a couple of moments to go here before we're gonna wrap it up. And if you can, and you're sort of not, you're like in the middle of your career, you know, you got another 40
Thank
years
you.
or so.
Yeah, this feels like this really, I've had a lot of little chapters, but this really feels like a true second act in the past few years, and I am so excited. It's great to be, again, the age I am now, at the point I am now, into it, and feeling a little like a newbie, very wide-eyed about what's next and the things I want to accomplish.
Even though you are at that point, can you pause for a moment and think about what would you like your legacy to be?
Ooh, I know, ooh. You know, it's really inclusiveness through music, if I had to sum it up in one phrase. I mean,
How would you like to be remembered? What should people
really
say
for
about
that
you?
though, you know, just first of all for being a kind human. I want to be known as somebody who made somebody's day a little bit brighter and a little bit easier. I always want to be that person. I always catch myself, because listen, we all get in moods. I can be moody, I can be snippy, and there are some days the guys will tell you they've seen me, and some days you just can't turn it around, and no matter how hard you try. But I always try.
You.
Oh yeah, not me. Me on no sleep because I'm very bad with touring hours. Like when I go to bed at 3 a.m. because the show and a meet and greet ended at midnight, my body still wants to wake up at 7, and I'm just kind of a mess all the time. But again, I try to flip it. But I do, you know, if I walk into, you know, Starbucks or wherever, and it's not that, see, I have an awareness and an innate desire to know about people. So I have the desire to know about people because I'm just interested in people. I just love people. And I think if people are entertainers and they don't like people and they're not nice to their fans, they're in the wrong business. And we see it. I'm like, why? Just sit behind just hide somewhere then. But I have the awareness also that we do have power. We have the power to shift someone's energy. So I genuinely take an interest, but I'm aware of what taking that interest might mean to somebody, and never underestimate that it's meaningful. You know, if I did the other day, I passed, there was somebody like washing windows, and I was like, that looks amazing. Because that person washing windows doesn't get to, I get applause, so I'm lucky. Like I get the feedback, right? You know, somebody's like a stay-at-home parent, like nobody's giving you a round of applause. So I'm giving you a round of applause right now. You know what I mean? So it's just acknowledging other people and their value in this world. And so that's really what I want my legacy to be. And then again, musically, just to be known as someone who brings people together through music, because that's really my favorite thing about it, is that it brings people together. I love Madonna's song, music makes the people come together. What a great song. Profound, right?
The one, I think, the unifying sort of through line through those songs is tenacity and strength. Underscore love. Those are the through lines for those 3 songs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it is. It is. And independent thinking, right? Like when you take, actually, yes, because we could be together also as that rebellious, you know, in the video, I leave the guy in the Porsche, played by my cousin Sal, for the guy on the motorcycle, the late great Gary Corbett, my former musical director. But it's that rebellious spirit, but rebelling for the right reasons and to go toward that extraordinary magic, right? Because what I say about extraordinary magic too, whether it's a person or a career goal or whatever the thing is, it's what are you willing to carry a torch for, and for how long will you carry it to get to something magical to read? Because I've never stopped it. Nothing would ever stop me from getting to this. Because I knew, like when I know magic awaits, I find the tenacity and the strength that I need. That is really, like, you're right. There's a little, like, story arc to those 3 songs.
There is. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
Really.
Me too. I love this so much.
In all these years, we've never had the chance to actually sit down and have this conversation.
I know. I
We
love
bumped into
it.
each other over the years at many different sort of events here and there, but I was glad that we got to do this.
I love it.
Thank you. Debbie really put time into these songs. She's, talk about tenacity and focus. You can barely talk to her when she's getting ready for her shows.
Yeah, I stay in the zone until the shows are done. Now you're going to see me all over the ship, all up and through.
So,
Yeah.
I thank you for your passion in life and your music, the passion that you took in putting these 3 songs together.
Thank you. I want to compliment you as well, because such a great conversationalist, and I've done so many interviews over the years where people are not always so present, and you're so present, and that's what makes this such a great conversation. It's the best to just have a great conversation and with a love of music. Thank you,
Gibson,
guys.
everybody. All right. Yeah. Get ready.